I visited my grandson at his new army base, but the boy was ashamed of me. He told his new platoon buddies I was just a simple old grandma, good for nothing but baking and knitting. They all snickered. That is, until the base commander walked in, froze in his tracks, and screamed, "Admiral on deck!" I parked the sedan in the visitor's lot. The sign said Fort Harris. The name was new. The base was not. I knew this soil. I could smell the dust and the old pine, even with the car windows closed. I got out. My knees clicked. I took a moment, leaning against the door. I was wearing my blue cardigan, a simple floral print blouse, and my most comfortable walking shoes. I looked every part the woman I was supposed to be, a grandmother, visiting. Liam was waiting for me at the visitor's center. His new haircut was severe. It exposed the shape of his skull, making him look both younger and harder. His uniform was pressed, all sharp lines and angles. "Grandma," he said. He hugged me. It was a quick, stiff gesture. His arms were strong, but the hug was not warm. It was the kind of hug you give when you are aware of who is watching. "Liam," I said, patting his back. It felt like a board. "It is so good to see you." "You drove all this way," he said. It was not a question. It was a statement, and it sounded like an accusation. "Of course I did. I wanted to see this new life of yours." He looked over his shoulder, toward the main gate. A few young soldiers walked past, their boots striking the pavement in rhythm. They glanced at me. I smiled. They did not smile back. Liam's face tightened. Let's go to the PX, he said. He took my small overnight bag from my hand. "We can get a coffee." He started walking fast. I had to take 2 steps for every one of his. My comfortable shoes were not built for this pace. "Liam, please slow down," I said. I was already a little out of breath. He stopped suddenly. He let out a long, heavy sigh. The kind of sigh I knew meant I was being a problem. "Sorry, Grandma. It's just, this place is all about schedules. I have to be back at the barracks soon." "I understand," I said, though I did not understand his impatience. "I am just happy to see you." The visitor center was loud. The floors were polished linoleum. Every sound echoed. The click of my heels, the heavy thudding sound of combat boots, the sharp clipped words at the security desk. It was a familiar music. Liam steered me toward a small food court attached to the building. The air smelled of burnt coffee, industrial cleaner, and stale grease. He seemed nervous. His eyes moved everywhere. He was not looking at me. He was watching everyone else look at me. "Liam, is something wrong?" "No, nothing. It's just, this place is different. It's not like home. It's a big adjustment," I said. "Yeah, an adjustment." We found a small table. The metal chair was cold against my back. I sat. He remained standing. "I'll get the coffee," he said. "Tea, if they have it, dear." "Herbal?" "Coffee." "Right." He walked away before I finished. I watched him. My grandson. He looked strong. He looked like a soldier. But he was acting like a lost, angry child. I felt a small, tight knot form in my stomach. This was not the boy who used to beg me for stories. He returned with 2 white paper cups. He put one in front of me. It was coffee, black. I said nothing. He sat down, but he did not relax. He hunched over his cup. "So, tell me everything," I said, forcing a smile. "There's nothing to tell," he said. "We drill. We clean our weapons. We run. We get yelled at. Are you making friends?" "That's important." His head snapped up. His eyes darted toward the entrance of the food court. "Yeah, some. They're my platoon," he said. "My guys." "That is good." "They're coming over now, actually," he said. His voice dropped. It was low and urgent. "Look, Grandma, just be cool, okay? Don't be weird. Don't ask a bunch of questions. Weird. Liam, I am your grandmother." "Yeah," he said, and the word hurt. "I know. I saw them then. 3 young men, all wearing the same new uniform, all with the same sharp haircut. They were laughing, their voices too loud for the small space. They were walking straight toward our table. Liam's back went rigid. The 3 young privates stopped at our table. They were all angles and nervous energy, their trays loaded with burgers and fries. The smell of fried food hit me, thick and heavy. "Vance, you actually did it," said the tallest one. He had Rick on his uniform tag. He dropped his tray onto the table with a loud clatter that made me wince. "Hey, guys," Liam said. His voice was strained. This is my grandma, Eleanor." I started to stand, to be polite, but Liam put a hand on my shoulder and pressed me back down. It was not a kind gesture. It was a controlling one. "Ma'am," said the one named Ben. He seemed quieter than the others. He looked at me, then at Liam, then back at me. "She's cute, Vance," the third one, Peterson, said. He did not look at me at all. He just started eating his fries. "Yeah, well," Liam said, rubbing the back of his neck. "She wanted to visit? All the way out here?" Rick asked, his mouth full. "That's a long drive." "Tell me about it," Liam muttered. I sat very still. I held the paper cup of coffee in both hands. It was still hot, but the heat was not comforting. Ben, the quiet one, was still watching me. He tilted his head. "Ma'am, were you ever in?" "You sit." "I don't know." "You sit like my dad, and he was a sergeant." I felt Liam tense beside me. The air around him went cold. Before I could answer, Liam let out a sharp, ugly laugh. It was not a sound I had ever heard him make. "Her?" He scoffed. He looked at his new friends, his audience. He did not look at me. "Her? No way, man," Liam said, his voice full of false confidence. "She's just a simple old grandma. You know," he gestured vaguely at me, "baking, knitting, that kind of stuff. Right, Grandma?" Rick and Peterson snickered. Ben looked down at his tray, but a small smile was on his face. The words, "just a simple old grandma," hung in the air. They landed on me, heavy and cold and sharp. I thought of the years I had sacrificed, the nights I had spent away from his father, the meetings, the deployments, the endless weight of command, all of it erased in one sentence so this boy could look good in front of his new friends. My disappointment was a physical thing. It was a cold stone in my stomach. Liam, seeing their laughter, felt brave. He smiled along with them. "She just wanted to see her little soldier," he said, puffing out his new uniform chest. I looked at him. My grandson, the boy I had taught to ride a bicycle, the boy who cried when he scraped his knee. He had become a stranger. I set the coffee cup down. The small sound it made on the plastic table was very loud in the sudden silence. The boys stopped laughing. They were watching me now. I looked directly at Liam. My eyes did not leave his. "Is that what you think I am, Liam?" I asked. My voice was not loud. It was quiet. It was steady. "A simple old woman who bakes?" He stared at me. The color drained from his face. Liam's face went from pale to a deep, blotchy red. He opened his mouth and closed it. The snickering from his friends had stopped. The food court noises, the buzz of a refrigerator, the distant clatter of a tray, seemed to get very loud. "Come on, Grandma," Liam said. He tried to laugh, but the sound was dry and tight. "I was just kidding, you know, joking with the guys." "I see," I said. I folded my hands over my purse in my lap. "I am not laughing, Liam. Your friends are not laughing. So please, tell me what is funny." The tall private, Rick, pushed his chair back. The legs scraped loudly on the floor. "Whoa, Vance, your grandma is pretty intense." "She's not," Liam snapped. His anger was quick. He turned it on me, not his friend. "She's just... she doesn't get it." "You don't get it, do you? This is the Army. This is my life now. You can't just come in here. I came because you invited me," I said. My voice was still quiet. I did not need to raise it. "You sent me the dates for Visitors Weekend. I am here." "Yeah, well, I didn't think you'd act like this," he hissed. He leaned forward, his voice a low, furious whisper. "You're embarrassing me. You're sitting there, all stiff and weird, asking questions, and you made my friends stop eating. Just be a normal grandma for 5 minutes. Embarrassing you, I repeated. The words tasted like ash. Because I am not normal. Liam, said Ben, the quiet one. He was looking past us. His eyes were wide. Liam, shut up. Shut up right now. Don't tell me to shut up, Ben. Liam was too angry to listen. She's the one. Vance, Ben said again, his voice sharp. Colonel. Liam froze. He had not heard the footsteps I had. The heavy, even pace of an officer. The sound of boots that were polished, not scuffed. A shadow fell over our table. I did not turn. I simply waited. Liam and his 3 friends scrambled to their feet. They stood so fast they almost knocked their chairs over. Trays, fries, and burgers were forgotten. At ease, soldiers, a deep voice said. The voice was tired. It was annoyed. I hope you are enjoying your lunch. Sir, Rick and Peterson said together. We were just leaving, sir, Liam stammered. I am sure you were. The voice was dry. I am Colonel Hayes, the new base commander, and I do not appreciate my recruits disrespecting their family. In my PX, Liam's face went white. Sir, no, that's not what— I heard you, Private Vance, the colonel said. His voice was like cold steel. I heard you perfectly. You will report to your first sergeant. The colonel's voice trailed off. I had turned my head slightly to look at him. He was a tall man. His uniform was perfect. He had a strong face, lines around his eyes. He was holding a paper cup of coffee. His eyes met mine. He stopped breathing. I could see it. His entire body went rigid. His gaze flickered down to my blue cardigan, then back to my face. His own face lost all its color. He knew me, or he knew of me, ma'am, he whispered. It was a question full of disbelief. I just looked at him. The paper cup dropped from his hand. It hit the polished floor with a wet splat. Black coffee splashed onto his spit-shined boots. He did not blink. He did not look down. Liam and his friends were staring at the colonel. They were confused. They thought the commander was angry about the spilled coffee, but I knew that look. It was not anger. It was shock. It was recognition. Colonel Hayes's training, 30 years of it, took over his body. His heels slammed together. The sound was like a rifle shot in the quiet food court. His back went straight. His hand flew to his brow in the sharpest salute I had received in 5 years. He took a deep, desperate breath. Then, from his diaphragm, he roared a single phrase that echoed off every wall. Admiral on deck. The sound of the colonel's voice was a physical force. It hit the walls and bounced back. For 1 second, there was only the echo. Deck, deck, eck. Then, chaos. A chair scraped, falling backward onto the floor. A metal tray heavy with food clattered down. Someone gasped, but the chaos was brief. It was the sound of a room full of soldiers, of every rank snapping to attention. Boot heels hit the polished linoleum. Dozens of them, all at once. The buzzing conversation of the food court did not fade. It was cut. It was gone. The only sound left was the hum of the soft drink machine. I looked around the room. Every soldier, every NCO, every officer was standing. They were rigid. They were straight. They were all facing our table. They were all staring, not at the colonel, but at me. The woman in the lavender cardigan, Liam, Rick, and Peterson were frozen. They were still half standing, caught in the motion of getting up for the colonel. Their faces were blank with confusion and terror. They were staring at Colonel Hayes. But Colonel Hayes was not looking at them. His eyes were fixed on me. He was still holding that perfect, rigid salute. His face was pale. He was waiting. I took a slow breath. I felt the old weight settle onto my shoulders, the comfortable, familiar weight of command. I pushed my cold metal chair back. The sound was loud in the silence. I stood up. My knees complained. My back ached, but I stood straight. I pulled my shoulders back. It was a posture I had held for 34 years. I looked at the colonel. "At ease, Colonel," I said. My voice was not loud. It was clear. It carried. "Ma'am," he said. His voice was tight. He lowered his hand, but he did not relax. He was still at attention. "I am here on a personal visit, Colonel Hayes. No need for this." I gestured at the room. The colonel looked, for the first time, at the sea of frozen soldiers. "As you were." He barked over his shoulder. The room let out a collective breath. Soldiers sat. They picked up their forks. But no one was eating. No one was talking. They were all turned toward our table, their faces a mix of curiosity and fear. Hayes turned back to me. "Admiral Vance, ma'am," he said, his voice now low and urgent. I had no idea. "You are not on my manifest. No one informed me you were on base." "It was a last-minute trip, Colonel. "Of course. It is an honor, ma'am." He glanced at my plain clothes. "I was a lieutenant at Norfolk when you had the Second Fleet. You were my CO's CO. Ma'am, I must apologize for the behavior of my recruit." His eyes cut to Liam. It was only then that Liam seemed to understand. He was looking at the colonel, then at me, then at the name tag on his own uniform. Vance. He was connecting the names. Colonel Hayes's eyes were blazing. "Private Vance," he said, his voice a low growl. "Is Admiral Vance your family?" Liam could not speak. He just nodded, a small, jerky motion. "And you," the colonel said, his voice dropping to a whisper that was more frightening than his shout. "You were letting your associates snicker at a 3-star flag officer." "Sir, Liam's voice cracked. I didn't—" "You did not what, Private?" Hayes began. I held up one hand. "Colonel," I said. He stopped. Instantly, he turned to me. "Ma'am?" "That will be all," I said. "This is a family matter. You are dismissed." He stared at me for one long second. He saw the rank, yes. But he also saw the grandmother. He nodded once. "Yes, ma'am," he said. He gave Liam a final chilling look. A look that promised misery. "Private Vance, you will be dealt with." "Ma'am." He gave me a sharp, respectful nod, turned on his heel, and marched away. He did not look back at his spilled coffee. The room was silent. I turned my full attention to the 3 young men at my table. Rick and Peterson looked like they were about to be sick. Ben was just staring at me, his face pale. And Liam, my grandson, he was shaking. "Grandma," he whispered. I don't understand." "No, Liam," I said. I pulled my cardigan tight. "You do not." The silence in the food court was absolute. Rick and Peterson were still standing, their faces pale. They looked like statues. Ben, the quiet one, was staring at me. He was not looking at me with fear. It was something else, a kind of wonder. I turned my attention to them. I did not include my grandson in the glance. "Privates," I said. My voice was calm. All 3 of them jumped, their bodies snapping to a new kind of attention. "Ma'am," they said together. "Your meal is finished," I said. It was not a question. "You are dismissed." "Yes, ma'am," Rick said. They did not need to be told twice. They grabbed their trays. They moved so fast they almost ran into each other. They did not look at Liam. They did not look at me again. They just fled. They practically ran out of the food court, their boots slipping on the linoleum. Ben was the last to leave. He paused at the trash can, dumped his tray, and looked back at me one last time. He gave me a short, jerky nod of his chin. Then he was gone. Now we were alone. Alone. In a room full of 24 soldiers who were pretending not to watch us. I looked at Liam. He was still standing, his body rigid, his hands clenched at his sides. He was staring at the spot where Colonel Hayes had spilled his coffee. "Sit down, Liam," I said. He sat. He moved like an old man, his joints stiff. He did not look at me. He looked at the table. I sat down across from him. I folded my hands on the table. "Grandma," he whispered. His voice was broken. I didn't know. You did not know what, Liam? I asked. I kept my voice low. That I was a vice admiral? That I commanded the Second Fleet? That men like Colonel Hayes, full-bird colonels, were once my subordinates? Yes, he whispered. All of it. Why did you never tell me? Tell you? I asked. I have pictures in my study. Pictures of me in my dress whites. Pictures of me on the Enterprise. Pictures of me shaking hands with senators. You have seen them your entire life. What did you think they were? He looked up at me, his eyes wide and lost. I don't know. I thought they were just pictures. I thought you worked for the government. In an office. I see. I picked up my paper cup. The coffee was cold. I set it back down. So you looked, but you never saw. I leaned forward. The other soldiers in the room leaned forward with me. You told your friends I was just a simple old grandma. I said his words back to him. You said I bake and knit? You were ashamed of me. No, he said, his voice cracking. I mean, yes, but I was just trying to fit in. They all talk big. You just wanted to be one of them. I finished for him. So you used me. You used my visit to make yourself look, I do not even know. What did you think, Liam? That being simple was something to be ashamed of? He had no words. You put on this uniform, I said, pointing to his chest. You swore an oath. That oath means something. It means discipline. It means integrity. It means respect. Not just respect for the rank you can see, respect for the person, for the sacrifice. You looked at me, your family, and you showed me no respect. You showed your friends no respect. And you showed yourself no respect. He flinched, but I was not finished. You were right about one thing, Liam. This is a different world. And in this world, we are trained to see details. We are trained to observe. You failed your first test. You failed to see what was right in front of you. Because you were not looking. I saw tears well up in his eyes. He tried to blink them back. He was a soldier. Soldiers did not cry in the PX. Grandma, he choked out. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Your apology is noted, Private Vance, I said. I stood up. My chair scraped the floor and he jumped. Get your tray, I said. What? Your tray. We are leaving. But, Grandma, my platoon sergeant, Colonel Hayes, I'm going to be in so much trouble. Yes, I said. You are, but you will face that later. Right now, you are with me. Get your tray. He stood up, a puppet with cut strings. He picked up his untouched tray of food. He looked like a little boy lost in his father's uniform. I turned. I picked up my purse. I began to walk toward the exit. I did not look left. I did not look right. I walked, my back straight, my head held high. I heard him scramble to follow me. As I walked, a path cleared. Soldiers sitting saw me coming and stood up. They stood at attention as I passed. They were not ordered to. They just did. I walked through the silent, respectful room. I heard Liam behind me. I heard the clatter of his tray as he dumped it in the trash bin by the door. I heard his boots, hurrying, skipping a step, trying to catch up. I pushed the glass door open. The bright, hot sun of the base hit my face. The glass door of the visitors' center hissed shut behind us. The sound was very loud. Outside, the world was bright and hot. The sun was high. It reflected off the hoods of the cars in the parking lot. It was a normal day. I walked. My shoes made a small tapping sound on the sidewalk. Behind me, I heard Liam's boots. Thud, thud, thud. He was following me. He was walking like a recruit. His steps were heavy, measured, and full of misery. We walked past the giant flagpole. The flag hung limp in the still air. In the distance, I could hear a platoon running. A sergeant was calling cadence, his voice raw. Left! Left! A left! Right! Left! It was a sound I had heard my entire adult life. It was the sound of discipline. Liam was walking beside me now. He was not looking at me. He was staring straight ahead. His face was pale, and there were patches of red on his neck. "Grandma," he said. His voice was rough. I stopped. We were halfway to the parking lot. I turned and looked at him. I am not that person," he whispered. "I am not. I wanted them to like me. I wanted to fit in." "And did they?" I asked. He had no answer. He just looked down at his own polished boots. "You wanted to fit in with boys who laugh at old women," I said. "You wanted the respect of men who snicker at a visitor. Is that the standard, Liam? Is that what they are teaching you here?" "No, ma'am," he said. The ma'am was automatic. It was terrified. I started walking again. He fell in step beside me. We reached the visitor's lot. It was mostly empty now. My simple 4-door sedan looked very small and very civilian. I stopped at the driver's side door. I fished in my purse for my keys. The small jingle of metal was the only sound between us. I clicked the button. The car beeped. I turned to him. "My bag, Liam." He looked at me, his eyes wide and blank. "What?" "My overnight bag," I said. "The small one. The one you took from me when I arrived. It is still at the table. In the food court." His face. I have seen men told they are shipping out. I have seen the look of young officers given their first command. I had never seen this look. It was pure distilled horror. He had to go back. He had to walk back into that room. Back past the soldiers who were still sitting there. Back past the table. He would have to face them all, alone. "Ma'am, he stammered. "Go and get it, Private," I said. My voice was not kind. He hesitated for 1 second. A second where he was deciding if he could disobey. "Go," I said. He turned. He ran. He ran back toward the visitor's center, his new boots clumsy on the pavement. I waited. I did not get in the car. I leaned against the hot metal of the door and watched the entrance. 2 minutes later, he came back out. He was not running. He was walking very fast, his back rigid. He was holding my small blue bag in his hand. His face was white. He looked like he had been sick. He stopped in front of me. He did not meet my eyes. He held out the bag. I did not take it. "Put it in the back seat," I said. He fumbled with the door handle. He opened the rear door, placed the bag gently on the seat, and closed it. Then he stood in front of me. And he snapped to attention. It was a sloppy, desperate gesture. It was all the fear and panic and confusion of the last 30 minutes, forced into a military posture. "Grandma, Admiral." "Ma'am," he whispered. What's going to happen to me?" I looked at him. "My grandson, the boy in the uniform. Colonel Hayes," I said, "will do his duty. Your platoon sergeant will do his duty. They will teach you the lessons you failed to learn from your family. They will be very thorough. I'm sorry," he whispered. The tears were back, and this time they fell. They cut clean paths through the dust and sweat on his cheeks. "You are sorry you were caught, Liam." "No," he said, his voice rising. "No, I'm sorry I said that. About you. About knitting." "The rank is not the point," I said, and I was so very tired. "The stars are gone. I am retired. I am an old woman. I do knit." I opened my car door. The interior was hot. "You were not disrespectful to an admiral, Liam. You were disrespectful to me. You were so busy looking for a uniform, you forgot to look at the person. You forgot to see your own family." I got into the driver's seat. "You must return to your barracks, Private Vance," I said. He just stood there, his face broken. "That is an order," I added. He flinched. He brought his heels together. His hand started to come up in a salute. Then he stopped, unsure. "Yes, ma'am." I put the key in the ignition. I started the engine. I did not look at him again as I put the car in reverse. I only saw him in the rearview mirror as I pulled away. He was just a boy, standing alone at attention in an empty parking lot, watching me drive away. The drive home was 5 hours, not 3. I stopped twice. My knees were stiff. My back ached. The silence of the car was a relief. For 2 weeks, I heard nothing. This was expected. Recruits in a new kind of trouble are not given many phone privileges. I spent the time in my garden. I pulled weeds. I pruned the roses. I sat in my study, the one Liam had dismissed. The walls are full of my life. There I am, a young ensign, laughing in a wardroom. There I am on the bridge of the Enterprise, my first command. There I am in my dress whites, shaking a hand, accepting a flag, giving a speech. Liam was right. I am a grandmother, init ibake. I have a box of his old crayon drawings. I have kept every one. The mail arrived on a Tuesday, bills, a catalog, and one thin white envelope. The return address was Fort Harris. The handwriting was Liam's. It was sharp, clear, and looked like it had been written very slowly and with great care. I took it to the study. I sat in my chair. I used a silver letter opener to open it. The letter was 1 page, on lined paper torn from a notebook. Dear Grandma, it started. I am writing this from the barracks. I am allowed 1 letter. I want to say I'm sorry. Not like I said it in the parking lot. I was sorry then because I was caught. I am sorry now because I was wrong. You were right. Colonel Hayes and my first sergeant were very thorough. They taught me about respect for the uniform. They taught me about respect for family. They used a lot of mops and a lot of cleaning supplies and a lot of very loud words to do it. I deserve all of it. I know that now. The guys, Rick and Peterson, they do not talk to me much. They are terrified of you. They think you are going to fly here and have them sent to a frozen wasteland. Ben is different. He asked me about you. He asked me to tell him stories. I realized I did not have any. Not the real ones. I told him what I remembered. That you taught me how to ride a bike, and that you made soup when I was sick. He said I was lucky. I was so worried about them seeing me as a grandma's boy. I wanted to be tough. I wanted to be one of them. I thought having you there, being you, would make me look weak. I was the one who was weak. When I was standing in the PX and Colonel Hayes yelled, I was not just scared. I was proud. That was my grandmother. And I had treated you like you were nothing. I was the one who was blind. I was the one who was not seeing details. I am trying to, now. I am trying to see. I set the letter down on my desk. My hands were steady. Something else was in the envelope. It was flat and stiff. I slid it out. It was a photograph. A new one. It was Liam, Rick, Ben, and Peterson. They were in their dress uniforms, not their fatigues. They were standing in a perfect straight line, side by side. Their faces were serious. They were looking straight at the camera. They looked like soldiers. I turned it over. There was writing on the back. It was not Liam's handwriting. It was formal, perfect, and written in black ink. To Vice Admiral Vance. With respect. Howard Vansha put Rickson, put Peterson, and Pivot Kincaid. Ben's last name was Kincaid. I looked at the formal photo, at these 4 serious boys. Then I looked back at the letter. At the last few lines I had not yet read. This picture is for your wall. For the office. I hope it is okay. I am going to work hard. I am going to pass my drills. I am going to try to be a man that my grandmother can be proud of. Please tell me you will visit again. Your grandson, Liam. I held the letter in one hand and the photograph in the other. I looked up at the wall, at the photo of me on the bridge. I was young then, and the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I stood up. I walked to the wall. I moved a small award, a plaque I had received 20 years ago, to the side. I placed the new photograph in the space. The 4 young men, my grandson among them, stood in their new, crisp uniforms. They looked good there. They fit. I sat back down at my desk. I picked up the letter again and read the last line one more time. Then I picked up the phone. I had to call the base. I needed to find the dates for the next visitors' weekend.